Today I share about experience your purpose in life. And I want to say where I used to be. I used to think my purpose in life was to be the best mother ever. And of course, I probably spoilt my children a lot, but they're all wonderful. They've turned out okay anyway. So my focus was on them. And my focus was on my husband. My focus was on what am I going to do with my life and what career will I do? I used to be involved with personnel, and it was always focused elsewhere, but it used to give me a sense of anxiety and a bit of tension, because when you focus on family or friends or situations in life first, I found that there's always something, some wonderful things that have happened, but there's always something that's not quite right. There's always something that has to be resolved with somebody or something you don't know or you don't understand. And that can, I found, create anxiety and tension and fear, which separates me from the one who has the answers, who is utter peace. So when I finally woke up to that, I needed to, first of all, love the one who created me, who actually, this is not just me, it's all of us, the one who actually thought about me, you as well, who thought about me and created me from his creative mind, and then sent me forth to my parents, who is actually living in me because I'm breathing and I have life. How profound is that, that each one of you, and he has a purpose for each one's life. But my purpose and my focus was always on the world he created, not on him, for a long, long time. And so therefore I'd be, as I said, tense or anxious. But when I finally came back, and one day I knelt in my wardrobe, would you believe? It was a walk-in wardrobe, and I sat down and I knelt. This is probably 40 odd years ago. And I knelt down, and I'd had a great life. I'd done a lot of traveling and married a really wonderful man, but I'd grown up in a difficult circumstances, some good things, but some really very tense, frightening things. So I found when I knelt down that day and I said, I have no idea who you are, God. I have no idea about you. I mean, I've heard about you, but I have no personal experience of you. And right now, because of what's going on in my life and my life of particularly my mother and my father, I need you. And if you're there, I want you to help me. And that was the first time that I actually began to put or invite the one who created me from the beginning. I began to acknowledge that maybe he had the answers. Maybe he could help me when I couldn't help myself in situations. And he showed me a wall, and it was a brick wall. And I now realize all these years later that those bricks were all blockages. All those things I had to go through in my case, not necessarily in everyone's case. And he taught me all the way through, and slowly the walls came down and I began to experience his presence. But it was chaotic for a while, and it gets chaotic now. But now, instead of getting fearful, because I'm more present to him and I spend time putting him first, I find that all the craziness that's going on, I can actually just gain his perspective. As Geraldine just shared, she goes back and asks, how would you have me see this? Your wisdom. Right now, the way I see it is full of anxiety and fear. And of course, that which you fear comes about. So I learned that I needed not to stay on the fear, but to stay on his perspective. But what I've learned recently, and my life has changed all the way through, challenge after challenge after challenge, children almost dying, family upsets, having to deal with my own self and how I was with me. All of this journey he took me on, but I was willing to take the journey step by step, moment by moment, allowing him to reveal and allowing him to come in, which is when he came in, I would experience into these memories or into these, the pain of my emotions or my thoughts, or I would just experience his peace. I'd experience his perspective, as I said a moment ago, and it would change me completely. It would transform me in that moment, in that situation. So I saw it differently, out of a place of peace, and the situation may not have changed. Sometimes it did. More often than not, it did. But the point is, I was detached from it and I was surrendering it, as you no doubt all have done the same. And my life has changed. My children's life has changed. They're still going through some challenges, but I keep on surrendering them to the one who's created and has a purpose in the pain, has a purpose in their journey until they too stop and listen. But you know what I learned just recently? This is crazy. You all know that your purpose is to love your God with all of your heart and all your mind and all your soul. Do you not? That's the number one purpose in your life, which I didn't know about years ago. Heard about it, but I never really took much notice. What I didn't realize, and I heard from someone is, and this is the question I ask you all, how can you love God when you don't even know God? You don't even know where you're at. So this person I listened to recently had said, what we need to do, first of all, is sit and be still. Even if it's for a minute or two. I started for 5-10 minutes and then went on for a half an hour, 2 hours, depending on my circumstances, and everything began to change. And sit. And you know what happened when I began to sit? This is what happened. I stopped and I allowed love, which is God, who is God, love, wisdom, truth, whatever I needed. I stopped in his presence, not knowing where I was, how to solve myself, how to sort it out initially. And I just stopped long enough for him to touch me. And he loved me back into life in that situation. I would leave from a stressed, anxious place. As I said before, I would leave sometimes after, I have a lot to resolve, after 2 hours of utter peace. But more than that, I was so full up from whatever he'd done to me. I just had to go and share it. I'd have to go and see somebody. I just had to share, which of course is going out and sharing the very presence of God, not to preach at them and not to talk about me, but just to share maybe a little of my experience if that door opened, or be present to them with the presence that was within me and which I had experienced. So the first purpose is to sit still for all of us and be still and allow ourselves to be in the uncomfortableness of wherever we are as a result of our lives. Don't think about it. Don't try and sort it. And just come as we are and allow love to love us back into life. And then when you do that, you may experience, and I'm sure many of you have experienced what I've experienced. And after a while, you get to know the voice. You get to know the words. You know when God is speaking to you, your creator, because they're always words of if they're ever in correction, they're always said in love. Just like you're revealed how you can change. You always know it lines up with the word of God. You always know that it's going to bring life. You look back and you go, well, that happened, I listened, and what was the result? Was it fruitful or was it not fruitful? And if it wasn't fruitful, sit still longer. That's what I do. And wait and allow yourself to be imbued and radiated by the presence of light and love, who will give you the light and the truth. And any gift that you've got, creative gift or whatever you do with anyone, will just flow through this gift, this presence of God will flow through you. And it will profoundly affect those around you without your effort. So you know your family. You know their voices. You know it's not Satan, or you know it's not other people, because you have relationship. When you listen to them, because you've been with them. So spend time. That's what I did. But there's this little thing that I heard the other day that may be a tool. You all know you're meant to have faith. Well, I don't know about you, but still after 40 odd years of this journey, I find myself doubting. So this wonderful saying is, help my unbelief. It's okay not to believe. And someone gave me an analogy recently of when you're eating your food, don't you have faith that somehow that your stomach is going to be able to digest it? Don't you have, do you think about and have to understand how all the steak or whatever you're eating is going to go through your stomach? So it's the same thing with us. We don't understand what's necessarily happening in our lives, or what the end result's going to be, or what God's perspective is sometimes. But we can ask for the gift of faith, put our hands, and I like this image that I was given. I put my hand in the hand of the one who created me for good and created you for good. Although I didn't think so at once, because I was so blocked up with anxiety and resentment and unforgiveness. But slowly that went around, and now I put my hand in his hands and I ask him to lead me one step at a time, moment by moment. And then my purpose in life becomes clear. I experience the purpose of him being with me, and I experience when I remain in that space, that when I'm with people, when I'm doing whatever it is that I'm drawn to do, which is the next seminar, all about where your gifts and talents are and how to use them and what blocks them. When you know what your gifts and talents are, they will flow with grace. They will flow with power. And you won't be looking at, will you become famous in the world? Will all your family acknowledge you? Will those around you think about you because of your creative gift or because of your whatever you're doing? Your focus won't be on yourself. It'll be on the one who is within you and who's everywhere, who is pure, unconditional love and creativity. Who has the power to change you and everyone. You will be satisfied, content. I think over the last 22 years, I've heard so many people come full of resentment, anger, bitterness, hating themselves, judging themselves, all blockages. And when they finally acknowledge it and they just surrender it and ask for forgiveness if they need it from Jesus to flow through them, then I just say, now listen to the truth. And I'll listen to the truth. And again, all those people have encountered, hundreds and hundreds of them over the years. They say, I'm in the light, I'm in the presence, I'm in this place. I said, so how do you feel now? When you look back at that situation that was upsetting you, that person, when you couldn't do something or when you weren't successful, does it matter? And they say, no, right now I am completely content, completely safe, secure. I have no need and I don't want anything. It's a sense of surrender and a sense of knowing that you're being looked after. Now, remaining in that place and retaining that is something else, because from my experience, we need to go back and have a relationship and go back as we are, as we did today earlier on in the body, mind, heart and spirit, and say, well, I'm coming back to spend some time so I get present to myself and present more to you, so my life and your life can be one, so that we can be one and we can live the very best life with use it through all our gifts and talents for the good of all, not for ourselves. So then you don't fear rejection, judgment, failure. The focus is not on you, its focus is on others. And you're not waiting for them to acknowledge you, because you've been acknowledged, because you have been loved, not because you've done something or achieved something. You are being loved just because he created you out of love for himself. Relationship. And he just wants you to flourish. Flourish. So I never used to flourish. Now I'm flourishing, not all the time, but if I'm not, I go back and I sit and I say, okay, show me where I'm at. What am I feeling? What am I thinking? Have I blocked it? Have I taken over again? And then I sit and I listen and I just let him love me, and then I can love him back. That's the first commandment. And I now realize that's for my protection, your protection. Because when you're in that space, you are not relying on anything or anyone for your self-worth and value. You are not waiting for them to change or waiting for them to love you. They don't have you tied to them with strings. It's freedom. It's true freedom. But you've got to practice this just as you have to practice any relationship. When I met my spouse, we had to spend a lot of time together to get to know each other. How important it is for you to come to this place where you are allowing yourself to be loved, so you can love the one who's within you and without you, so that you can see clearly, so that you can just be and let that love flow through you to all those around you. I remember being with one of my family members, and I reluctantly didn't want to go because I always felt awkward in their presence. So I just said, okay, this is my humanity. I'm going, but I'm going to go for you and with you. And I'm asking your angels to surround me. So I talk to whoever you want me to. So I'm just going to be, and I'm going to be. So the focus wasn't on me. The focus was on him, just allowing him to use me that day, just by being. And my sister rang me up. We used to have terrible troubles as children, but now we're really good friends. And my sister rang me and said, oh my God, everyone talked about you and talked about how you were being. Now, it was effortless. I didn't do anything except invite and allow and be present to the presence and not want anybody to talk to me. I just went to be and to be available to the spirit of love. It was for my sister to say that to me was profound. For her to ring me and acknowledge that was profound. So what if you do that? How profound can that be? So that your purpose in life could be then to love others, but not with your love, wanting something back. So you set yourself up for them manipulating and controlling you. What if you just allowed that love? Just try it this week, to be present, allow that love to be enough, and then not want anything, and just allow that love to flow through you to whoever you're talking, to whoever you're being with, not wanting anything, and being conscious, like being in the world but not of the world. It's just being conscious of that presence and surrendering. And sometimes you won't even know it's happening. People like my sister will come back and tell you, wow. Now, the danger for me was looking for my purpose in life earlier. I was going to establish my own employment agency because I loved the work. My husband used to say you'd sit up in bed and you'd start interviewing people. So guess what was my first love? And it was owning me, and my husband was driving my husband nuts. So I said, I'll start my own employment business. And I thought I better sit still long enough because I just started to really give my life over to the one who created me so he could guide it. So I wanted to hear what he said. And after sitting for some time, I got the words, I want you in my employment. And then I got the words from me saying, well, what's that? Like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know what your employment is. So over the years, I've come to know what that is. Doors began to open everywhere. I got invitations. Things happened effortlessly. And it was always to do with people, because I love people. And I've given, I don't know how many talks over the years and run seminars and stuff. So the doors and the invitations just happened effortlessly. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. But I still have to be aware of when I run ahead. And how do I know I'm running outside of that presence of love who's within me, who I want to be so one with? because the fruits are so sweet. Without preaching, just being. Me running ahead though, I know because I get exhausted, tired, burnt out, anxious, crabby, resentful. That's how I know I've run ahead. Other people get to me. I start worrying about what they think about me. Guess who the focus is then? The centre of my attention is me. So be aware of where the centre of your focus is. And in time, broken trees can even bear fruit. I was pretty broken, but I was willing to learn and grow through all my mistakes. I was willing to grow through all the troubles I had. And I've had lots of challenges this week. If I didn't know what I knew now, to stand back and just to listen and to not respond, not to react, but to respond only when it was appropriate, I would have had chaos this week. I stood back, I didn't react, and I just asked for wisdom to take over. And in time, that person came back and apologized, acknowledged the next day. That sort of stuff starts happening. And I also need to acknowledge stuff and clean up anything too. So he's using a broken tree, me, to have the privilege of being with all of these people over the last 40 odd years, and to be able to listen to them and to listen to him, the three-way listening, and for them to encounter his presence. Now they can run ahead and run away from him like I did. The only thing I want to say as I'm coming to a close now is your pain. My pain was my emotional pain, which was attached, coming from what I was believing about myself, not wanted, I didn't belong, I was unlovable. This is all from my childhood. And all these beliefs that I carried that were unresolved end up being my greatest gain. And that's become my greatest ministry, of being able to listen to others' emotions, to their thoughts, always under the guidance of the divine counselor, spirit of love, and then for them to experience and listen to the truth. But there's a course, Experience Emotional and Mental Peace on Agape Encounter. The website, it's free. It takes you through the emotions, the thoughts, and it takes you to how you can actually experience an encounter, because life is always throwing us up challenges. So let your pain be your greatest gain. Let it be your greatest. Use your pain. Don't waste it. It's become the most fruitful thing that I've ever had to do, is face my pain and my fears and work through it, and then experience the peace. And I just want to say one other thing. A lot of people, including myself, have had that experience when they let go of falling. And I'll just say to them, just keep falling, just keep. When you let go, you often fall, you feel like you're drowning. I've had all these experiences. And I've learned now just to, under the guidance of wisdom, to let go, because that's control. That in me was control. And of course, I couldn't work with wisdom. So I let go. And then, when I was drowning, I just observed it. And then all of a sudden I floated to the surface and it was all light and free. I'd let go of control. When I and other people have fallen and let go under the guidance of love, they've fallen into his arms or into this place of utter light and peace. They've let go of control. So let your heart and mind be stayed on him, and you'll live in peace. And he's got plans to prosper you, not to harm you, in Jeremiah 29. He's here to work for your good, which he's prepared already. You just got to listen and respond. And I think the way we remain in him is this: if we really love him, we will keep his commandments. And the commandments are there not to trap us. They are there, as I used to think, but they're there to protect us, to keep us in his presence. So if you love him, you will keep his word, which is there to guide you on the path of life and fullness of joy in his presence forevermore. Psalm 16. Thank you for listening. I hope you can take, just for a moment, one thing from what I've shared. This is 40 years of experience. I'm sharing just a little bit, but we have so much more on YouTube under Agape Encounters. So what's the one thing that I've shared today from my own life that I've had to learn? And I'm still learning. I love listening, learning, and loving. What's the one thing that stays with you that you could try and apply? One thing, and see the fruit. Stop and listen. And if you ask for the thing called grace, because it's by grace we're saved, to do this one thing, you'll find that you will see the wonderful fruit of it. And you will find your purpose in life. When you die and you've done all that you've done in this world, people won't be talking too much about that. You'll be facing your Creator. And you'll be saying to you, how much have you loved? How much have you loved me? How much have you loved others? How much have you allowed me to love you and flow through you? I hope you have a wonderful experience with the one thing, and maybe there might be another one that you can apply to your life this week. Thank you for listening. Share it with others.